there yet. He assured us that we're in the same growing pains that many big picture schools or any starting schools are. But his focus and his purpose for his school, we're going to be in a full partnership with him to learn. And then while we're there, we're going to make sure that our lessons with the block scheduling will be 45 minutes, essentially, quote unquote, like direct instruction so they know, and 45 minutes project-based learning. And we're going to break into the lesson plan into those 2 cycles so that we're encompassing that kind of the project-based learning, which is essential to big picture learning. And we're doing it in content areas 4 days a week because that is their strong suit. And we know that our teachers have a lot to learn, and we know big picture is very hard to pull off right away. But if we use the subject that they're more comfortable with, they can embed it. And then Wednesdays will be the day where they're doing full advisory with the project-based learning, with their LTIs, with their personalized learning plans. And then that is where they will be able to go on their internship. And every other Wednesday will be a half day. So it's good for us to practice every other Wednesday to do the full 3 hours and eventually start getting kids out for the second quarter. We've also agreed that we don't want to put a cap on only 10th graders being able to go out the second quarter, that it's all big picture ready. And if you're big picture ready, that you'll be able to go out so that we can show both 9th and 10th graders that this is real. We're committed to the model. You just need to be ready enough to go out. So we don't want to restrain it just to 10th grade, and we don't want 10th graders to rest on their laurels and think, oh, just because I'm in 10th grade, I'm going to go. And so we're embedding all of that as we speak, and our counselor has been making sessions. One other thing, with the schedule how it is, there's one teacher that was only teaching 4 sections, so they have an additional prep. That they've committed to use that 90 minutes to be a backup LTI coordinator, knowing that right now with our students, with a lot of the trauma they're dealing with as our counselor is very busy doing both, so that the counselor and LTI coordinator will have an additional support so they can delegate that as well. So those are kind of the things that we're doing.
Who would that teacher be?
That we are working right now. We are not sure. We just know that someone has it. We did not choose anyone yet. We just know that's an option in terms of the mathematical magic that has been working with the schedule.
Jackie, you mentioned we know that we fail students. I think that was almost one of your first comments. Can you elaborate on that a little bit in the sense of what do you think the root problem was that caused what you saw as failure?
Okay.
Because if we're not really addressing the problem, then we're not solving it.
Okay. So again, I don't think fail is a dramatic word, and I'm sorry. I just feel like we could do a lot better. So maybe rephrase that. Sorry. I think the problem was, quite frankly, is the lack of clarity that we had on implementing big picture 100% the best way that we could. I think we focused a lot on the soft skills and using a 2-day schedule using advisory without taking into account that we already have core content classes, and some of that time already ties back to the core content classes. So I think as a result, the rigor was not clear to teachers on how to teach advisory, because advisory is very new. That will probably be the most uncomfortable thing that they will teach because it's so new, it's so innovative, it's so different. And so to throw teachers into 2-3-hour periods of that without having very clear guidelines and expectations, it allows for teachers to lose momentum within the classroom. And so as a result of that, that is why we're changing our schedule to move the time from that's unstructured advisory to focus into a hybrid version where we're able to teach project-based learning within a content that takes away from those big long chunks, so they get better at that, and use Wednesday to put 150% into this is what full advisory is. I'm going to go through this, but I have support and I have clarity and I know what's going on. So they technically, I think, get either the same or more advisory time as a result. It just looks different.
Okay, so I know that you have Charlie and Ed on board, which I think is great, but they're not going to be here all the time. So in regards to what you guys are doing in-house to help individuals align the instructional work and the expectations to the model, how is that going to happen to keep folks on that track?
say it one more time.
In terms of the model, because the model is very different, when you have the support that's not here at some point, how are your structures in-house going to support teachers so that they have an understanding and are able to implement, get feedback, and get monitored to stay on that track?
So I will say, we came up with this idea before meeting Ed, and it was great meeting Ed today, and he made me feel really good about a lot of things. And they too moved from a 2-day schedule to a 1-day schedule. We probably could have communicated earlier, but that's another thing. But Ed was saying that with 1 day, it allows that. What I will do in-house, I'm very strong at project-based learning. It's one of the best ways to learn, hence why Big Picture uses it. So I'm very confident in being able to do our instructional PD ourselves. I also believe that by having them submit 2 separate lesson plans for each block will encompass the idea that they'll get what they need without having Ed or Charlie.
So just related to that question, so is that submission of those lesson plans, I think the larger question is that one of the ways in which you're operationalizing accountability at the local level?
Yeah.
How are you ensuring that teachers are going to have high expectations for both their students, but that you're also having high expectations for them in terms of their instructional strategies?
Great question. To be transparent, this is the first time that they were collected, and I gave feedback to everyone. Now the next thing will be, I will collect your lessons 3 days the week before, and you will reconstruct everything in a coaching meeting. So, and we're also adding requirements within the lesson plans for accountability, so that there is a standard, Common Core, Big Picture, and a fluency objective. How much are you writing? What are our turning tops? Literally practicing out. So the accountability is there for both teachers to make sure that we're better serving our students. So I'm actually asking for the worksheet. If I don't see the questions that are asked there, if it's not scaffolded, I'm going to ask you to revise it. And it's become common practice already. So they're definitely jumping to the occasion. We just need to keep the accountability there.
Can you also make that those lesson plans available for us?
I don't see why not.
Are you using a template? Is that what
Yeah.
you're? Okay.
Yes, sorry, we're using a template, and it embeds Big Picture and it embeds a fluency objective. So if our babies are not on grade level, what are we doing to scaffold the work? So if we're focusing on writing, how much are they writing? Are they writing 1 sentence? Are they writing 15 lines? Are they speaking, I see, I hear, I disagree? So that you have your standard, but you also have your fluency objective as well. So we know that we're meeting all students' needs.
Jackie, can you briefly speak to the expectations that students would have before going out to an internship?
Yes, so it's currently being in the works, and I wanted to make sure I touch base with Jerry. But so you have the basic requirements of being able to obtain your own internship and doing all the LTI stuff. But on a behavioral level, is that your attendance is set at, I want to say 90%. I have not said it because I need to make sure the team looked at it, that you're not late, because I think that's huge. Obviously, the bus is a separate story, but if you're rolling in late because you missed the bus, that's an issue. That you're able to reflect. You don't have to be a perfect child by any means. We'd like you to be perfect and not be, but if you have an issue, that you're able to have a restorative circle. It's going to be flagged by a number of referrals. And quite frankly, if you follow the cell phone policy, that you're able to not be with your cell phone. And that's going to really drive home this idea that we don't need to have our cell phones all the time. We chose not to ban them permanently because that's not life. It's not reality. And that's just, quite frankly, we're not going to be able to get 100% at this point. However, there's a big difference of not being on your phones up, making sure you're in class, and being able to use it down here than using it everywhere. That's really where our big push and our tie for Big Picture Ready and our cell phone policy are going together. And, yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think at the last board meeting, we heard from a number of the staff that we're serving a challenging population, not all of our students, but a number of children here. And there are a lot of what I'll call soft skills that need a lot of development, and they're essential to be successful in the Big Picture model. And what I heard from Jackie and from the staff last week, at the meeting last week, was that they're very focused on that because we want these students to succeed in their internship. It's essential for the support of the business community and obviously for the success ultimately of the students. So I think as a board, certainly I recognize those challenges, but it's a population that frankly has been underserved or not served at all, and that's why we started this school, and that's why we have to be successful.
So is there a plan in place for communicating to students what those expectations look like?
Yeah.
And for those students that supposedly do not meet those expectations, what would be the plan for those
So
guys?
that would be another, like, how we're doing our first project, which is Who Am I, which is based on research and within the classroom. It would be very similar to that, but different. That would probably be a realm of doing more research about jobs and doing more practice in terms of interviews and more reflection. And probably bringing in mentoring to have a one-on-one mentor, say, like, they're almost here, but they need to work on this area. To be honest, we're not 100% with, it would look like they would be in the building, but I think we would have to break down, like it is, one child at a time, basically assess what they need to do and give them a rubric. This is what you need to do in order to go out, and then give them that period of time to create their own plan. So versus going out to the internship, how can they make themselves big picture ready? So their LTI would be focused on that, or their PLP would be focused on that. Sorry, the language.
I'm sorry, I know I'm logging up on questions, but in regards to the soft skills, which seems to be the pressing issue,
So during the 3-hour time, we will probably have the counselor, myself, and other staff that does not have an advisory run workshops, mentoring workshops. And we say, you know, we have that big Wednesday chunk for the 3 hours. You know, Miss AT's gonna be here and she's gonna work on just like simply handshaking. Mr. AJ's over here with, if there's conflict, that you just smile and nod, right? And then being able to make a phone call. How do we practice? You know, and having them call Myron or someone else and practicing, that we have a set apart and we assess, they assess, we assess, the parents assess, going back to that PLP, what they need to do before they go.
And, I'm sorry, also in reference to when Michelle was talking about the soft skills. But we need to keep in mind the dress code.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's one of me walking through here, that's, I mean, I was displeased with the dress.
I am too. It's just that we did dress code and phones. We would not do either well. It is a concern for me. We have clothes. That's the next rollout. Is first identifying, having students admit that they are not wearing the right clothes. Usually when you call them out, the next day they wear something better. I'm not saying that we're 100% yet, but I think that's the next thing to roll out, is exactly what needs to be, what is appropriate to dress. And someone should be, the next push is that Mr. Wilson or whoever upstairs sees them, just puts them to the side so we can have a conversation about why it's inappropriate finding them a Delaware Met shirt.
It's a challenge to, I actually was sitting in on this session on Thursday, I think, when the staff just made their list of, you know, almost the wish list in a kind of ironic way of everything we would like to change right now about the school, and there were 30 things on this list. And so it's making those hard decisions about what's the highest leverage move for the school right now, let's nail that. And so the choice was made about the cell phone policy, and there was significant movement on that today. Once that's nailed, what's the next high lever move? And I agree. I think dress code needs to be there.
And I understand, and you know, what you're going with the cell phone policy, but another issue, well, concern of mine is there should not be a cell phone during school at all.
So I don't know who set the policy of having devices at all in school. I don't know if that, coming in August, I don't know who said that. It was in the code of conduct. I personally, we talked with somebody in Camden, and that was his biggest thing, that you physically don't come in with a cell phone. But since that wasn't the policy that we have, quite frankly, to switch it and become a no cell phone school is almost, it's gonna be very difficult and pushed back, because that's not what we advertise. So I agree. If we, you know, for next year, assessing that, we could change that policy and have a uniform or professional dress, absolutely. Those were things that I thought we inherited. I don't know who created them. So I'll be transparent.
Mr. Chair, it seems as though there was some effort, an enormous amount of effort put into identifying items of high priority and to tackle those issues first. To the extent that there are any items that remain high priority that are not being tackled, and perhaps dress code as well, one of them, to what extent is there a long-term plan in place to address those concerns?
I would say that's where that's the kind of the essence of a professional development plan in the school, right? So regularly scheduled sessions with your staff, led by your leadership, and the specific focus of any PD session planned by a leader is what's this specific issue I want to solve for in my building. And as I said, and you guys know this, and we're all being very transparent about it. We have a lengthy list. So the key is being very strategic about that. But I think that what I've seen over the last 5 days with this teaching team and Jackie is a team that is more than willing to roll up their sleeves and be very, very creative and very passionate about moving things for kids in your building.
And River's gonna take a while. And relevant, it's gonna go from here, and we can't plateau. Here, can't plateau. And here. There's very few master teachers in the nation, and that's our goal for everybody here. And so it will take a lot of work, and it will take a lot of staffing. Just like for our kids, it's the same thing, because we're going through new territory, and it's uncomfortable for teachers right now. And to push through that, and I've pushed, and I think they are starting to show kids, like, we're uncomfortable too sometimes, but we're doing what's best for you, so, it's okay if you're struggling a little bit. And to be told there is no wrong answer when they're used to only, multiple choice tests, and there's only one way. It is uncomfortable to be asked what their opinion is. It is a little uncomfortable, because maybe where they're coming from, they haven't been. I don't want to make assumptions of the previous school, but a lot of the choice and a lot of the freedom, a lot of the focus on the child is missing from many schools. So this is a big transition for both staff not from big picture schools and students not from big picture learning environments.
And I think this speaks to this fact that for all the problems that we no doubt have in the building, when you speak with students one-on-one, you have those small group discussions, and you hear the stories of students that are coming here for the opportunity. A lot of them truly believe in the big picture model and what we're trying to do here. They are from a traditional public school education, which, blessed to death, I was part of it as well, involved basically just communicating information to the audience, and we were the only ones with knowledge. They're being cast into a completely different model, and they are responding the same way that all of us respond when we're thrown into a completely different environment. They either shrink or they act out. And there are some who are now trying to come back and fold to that middle, and that has happened. It doesn't necessarily show when you're walking from the outside and see it the very first time. But if you've been here for the last month, and you've been here consistently, you've seen that change gradually take place. I was speaking to students in my advisory today who, more than a few of them said, I never wanted to get up and go to school before, but now I want to come to the Delaware Met. Even despite our challenges, they're still here. And this morning I told my students, I said, we were closed for several days, and you could have gone back to your old schools, dropped that, you didn't do it. And the fact that they're here today, that speaks volumes to the fact that how much dedication they have to it, and the fact that teachers were in here Monday through Sunday. No joke, Monday through Sunday. Saturday morning to Sunday night, Sunday morning to Sunday night. That speaks of dedication we have here. We want this to work. We need to know how. And that's where Jackie and Sean and Charlie have been instrumental in helping us.
Are there any additional questions from the board to either Jackie or Sean?
I wanted to ask the members to the parent piece and allowing for the surveys and the student piece, and after the survey, when are we going to be able to see that? And how is that going to look like over time?
So that's a really good question. I think Thursday when we do the back to school night will be the first data point of our parent survey, like we talked about. We'll try to do it once a month electronically. No, I want to take that back. I want to do it once a month regardless, because I want to have events once a month at the least amount of time. Like that should be the longest amount of time that we hold events for parents. So once a month. 2 for students, it's usually, what is it, 3 times, 4 times? What is it?
It's a quarter.
Quarterly assessments, and we ask the same questions generally. and that drives us. And we'll also take a staff survey too to make sure that we're aligning. Going back to the parent piece with the new block schedule that allows our teachers to be out. And one of the PD days, the time from 3:30 to 4:30 is where we have content team meetings, grade meetings. There's going to be a requirement to not, give them time to be able to meet with parents and talk to parents to give them time, because the previous schedule allowed them a half an hour during the day for any sort of prep until 3:30. So it was just very hard to make contact to work all day. And so by the time we got done at 3:30, we had meetings, and then it was 4, and then, so this will allow a lot more time for communication. And they've realized that this is key. And making sure we, as a group, do phone calls together, go out to the community, meet with families, and making sure we have family events. And I know AJ has something teed up, so after parent events, we now can put out the flyers for 2 weeks from now, we're having next, and then from 2 weeks from now. So now that we're starting this, we want a PTA, we want everything, because we know parents are extremely vital and like the core of everything that we do here.
So I have a question in reference to the parent piece being a part of, an integral part of the process, whether that is a part of the model. When do you see that actually coming into play?
So they've already been reaching out to families continuously. They've committed to those that may not have fallen in love with their cell phone policy to call home and just welcome and reintroduce themselves and just say, hey, we have a new policy. It's very clear that they're not in trouble. We have a new policy. Your son or daughter may not like it. Maybe just have a conversation about it. We just want to let them know that this is to make them better for a professional environment, and so it's not punitive. So we've had a lot of talk about the positive character and showing the caring and getting to know families and knowing it. And I will say one of our teachers started to do the full hour meetings and has had huge returns, and they're all just trying to budget enough time to get there with that schedule as well. And so from Thursday on, we should have parent volunteer, like that is what we need, and that's what we've been missing. And there was just not enough time or people to start it up, and we would love your help too. Yes.
So do we have the surveys developed for teacher, parents, and student? Has that been developed already?
Not yet. It will be for Thursday.
So I think at our last meeting, we asked to see the survey before it went out.
Okay. That's not a problem.
Mr. Chair, I had, yes, just one other question. Jackie, you had said that we had reached out to all the families, or to the extent children have families. Do you have any sense of what the contact rate was there? I mean, I'm sure it wasn't 100%, but maybe it was.
In terms of
how many?
personal phone calls,
yes.
a robocall goes out to 266 families, if that's not what you're asking. That is what we're setting a consistent way to track on Friday. They have logs. I know the majority of the students that were called. I remember 30%.
In terms of contact.
Yeah. And then the expectation is 100% by next month.
Okay.
We just need to make that urgent. It's just like each bullet hole, now that they see a vision for academics, it's like boom, 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 this is the expectation. They've also realized that now the accountability is there. Like I said by 6 p.m. on Sunday, if it wasn't there by 6 p.m., hey, didn't see this, where is it? This isn't the best, like, can we rephrase this? I need to see it again. And then it's going to be the hard conversation tomorrow that Sean will be having, like, I understand you may not like something, but it's required and we need to see it because it's best for our kids. And so that's the next level of accountability, so that we expect that.
So I just have one more question in reference to the second part of my question. What does it look like going forward with those surveys once they're complete and once we are going forward?
I think that's when we discuss in our weekly leadership meetings that we're going to be instating, that we're going to be starting. What do we do here? What are our ideas? Bring it to the team and make sure that that is one of the focus of the five-day meetings. Because we have contracted hours from 3:30 to 4:30, but there are no students in the building, so they will have to go to professional development to make sure that we keep the urgency and get everything that needs to be done, and that will be a priority for 1 day a week to make sure that we get. So to make sure that we take the information from that and to move forward and to have other plans. and then to reach out to our community members and our mentoring team and everybody so that we have a better pulse on everything.
Is there any additional questions at this time for either Jack or Sean? So I just want to ask, what would your recommendation be for the status of the school? Jackie.
It needs to stay open because we need to do what's best for our kids, and we need the whole year, we need multiple years to keep progressing and doing what's best for them. They have said time and time again that they appreciate where it's located and this idea that we are going to be a great school. We're not great yet, but we will be in a very near future, and they need to have hope within the community that they've come from. And for them to be able to walk to their school and to be able to say that they are downtown is necessity. And we will do whatever it takes as a leadership team to make sure we have the right people on the bus. It's going to be frank, hard, very uncomfortable conversations to be had, but everyone needs to be accountable because at the end of the day, it's all about children. And if we do not keep that in mind, but we have to do that. We have to do this for the community. We made a commitment. I'm as a leadership team, and I would love a chance to continue. So yes, please.
With that, I move to accept school leadership's recommendation that we keep the school open this time. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion at that point? Is there any discussion? At that point? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All abstaining? Given that recommendation on the financial viability and the school leader recommendation, I move that we strike agenda items 5 and 6, the action item that the school may take action on the charter, and the executive session.
I second that.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All abstaining? Do I hear a motion to close?
So moved.
Thank you very much.